Zara barely slept that night. Her mind kept returning to Jake and all the questions she wanted to ask him. When the ship's lights brightened to signal morning, she was already in the research library, reviewing every file the Xylary had collected about human mating behavior. The data was extensive but cold. Charts showing hormone levels, diagrams of physical mechanics, statistical analysis of reproduction rates. But nowhere in all these files did Zara find anything about what humans called love. The database treated human breeding like a mechanical process, no different than how machines join together. The medical computer spoke in its calm voice. "Lieutenant Zara, you have been reviewing reproduction files for 6 hours. Do you require assistance?" "I need to understand the emotional component," Zara said. "Humans do not treat mating as simply physical. There is something else involved." "Emotional bonding," the computer confirmed. "Human biochemistry creates strong attachment between mating pairs through hormonal release. However, Xylary psychology does not process these chemicals in the same way." "You would not experience such effects," Zara felt relieved. "So if I were to study human mating through direct observation, I would remain objective?" "Correct. Your Xylary biology would prevent emotional compromise." This was exactly what Zara needed to hear. She could approach this scientifically, experience what humans experienced, and still maintain her research distance. It was perfect. She found Jake in the dining area, eating breakfast that the ship's systems had created based on Earth food databases. He looked up and smiled when he saw her. "This tastes almost like real scrambled eggs," Jake said. "Your food computer is impressive." Zara sat across from him. "Did you sleep well?" "Better than I expected, considering I'm on an alien spaceship." Jake took another bite. "So what happens today? More tours?" "I thought we could talk," Zara said carefully. "I want to learn more about human culture, if you are willing to teach me." "Sure, I guess. What do you want to know?" Zara had prepared her questions carefully. She started with safe topics like human art and music. Jake talked enthusiastically about both, pulling up videos on the display screen Zara provided. She watched humans dancing together, holding each other, moving in synchronized patterns. "It looks like a mating ritual," Zara observed. Jake laughed. "I mean, sometimes dancing leads to that. But mostly people just do it for fun. It's about connection, you know? Being close to someone. Connection," Zara repeated. "Your species values physical closeness." "Yeah, we're social creatures. We need touch, companionship. Being alone too long can actually make humans sick." This fascinated Zara. Her people could go cycles without physical contact and feel nothing. But humans needed each other in ways that were almost biological. As the day continued, Zara steered the conversation toward relationships. Jake seemed slightly uncomfortable at first, but he answered her questions. He explained dating, the process of getting to know potential partners. He described falling in love as a feeling that was both wonderful and terrifying. "Have you been in love?" Zara asked. Jake nodded. "A few times. It never worked out long term, but yeah. I know what it feels like." "Describe it." "It's like..." Jake struggled for words. "Everything is more intense. Food tastes better. Music sounds better. You think about the other person constantly. You want to be near them. You feel happy when they're happy and hurt when they're hurt. It's kind of like they become part of you." Zara recorded every word. This was the piece the Xylary data was missing. Humans did not just physically join their bodies. They joined their minds and emotions too. That evening, Zara made her decision. She went to the medical bay and instructed the computer to prepare her body. The Xylary had technology that could temporarily adapt their biology to be compatible with other species. It was used for medical research and diplomatic necessity. Zara had the computer adjust her biochemistry to match human patterns as closely as possible. "This process will make you susceptible to human hormonal responses," the computer warned. "You may experience emotional effects." "I understand," Zara said. "Proceed." The treatment took an hour. When it finished, Zara felt different. Her senses seemed sharper. Colors looked brighter. Her heart beat faster than normal. The computer confirmed that her body would now respond to physical contact similarly to how a human body would. Zara found Jake in the observation deck again, watching Earth rotate slowly below them. She sat beside him, and he turned to greet her. "Hey, I was just thinking about home. My family is probably worried about me by now." "We will return you tomorrow," Zara assured him. "Your shuttle is almost repaired." They sat in silence for a moment, then Zara gathered her courage and spoke. "Jake, I need to ask you something. It may seem strange." "Stranger than being rescued by aliens? Try me." Zara took a breath. "I want to understand human reproduction. Not from data files or observations. I want to experience it directly. For research purposes." Jake stared at her. "You want to... what?" "Mate with you," Zara said, trying to keep her voice clinical. "I have prepared my biology to be compatible. I have consent forms that I can translate for you. It would be purely for scientific understanding." Jake stood up quickly. "Zara, that's not... humans don't really work that way. It's not just a research project. There are feelings involved." "I understand that for humans," Zara said, "but I am Xylary. I will not develop emotional attachment. I simply want to understand what my research has been missing." "This is crazy," Jake said, running his hand through his hair again. "You're talking about something really intimate, like it's a science experiment." "Is it not?" Zara asked. "You have done this before, yes? With humans you were not emotionally connected to?" Jake hesitated. "I mean, yeah, sometimes. But even then, there's usually some kind of connection. Some mutual attraction or chemistry or something." "Do you find me attractive?" Zara asked directly. Jake's face changed color, turning pink. Zara knew this meant he was embarrassed. That's not the point. But do you?" "You're beautiful," Jake admitted. "But that doesn't mean we should just..." "I mean, you don't understand what you're asking." They talked for hours. Zara explained her research and her desire to understand. Jake tried to make her see that physical intimacy meant something to humans, that it created bonds and complications. But Zara had her medical data. She had her assurances from the computer. She believed she could remain detached. Finally, near midnight ship time, Jake sighed. "If we do this, you have to promise me something. The second you feel uncomfortable or want to stop, you tell me." "Okay, I promise," Zara said. "And you understand that after this, things might be weird between us? That it might change how you see things? I understand the risks." Jake looked at her for a long moment. "Okay, but we do this properly. Not in a lab or a research bay. Somewhere comfortable." Zara led him to her quarters, a small room with a bed and personal belongings. Her hands were shaking slightly, though she told herself it was just anticipation. Jake seemed nervous too. What happened next was nothing like Zara had expected. The physical sensations were intense beyond anything in her research files. But worse, or perhaps better, were the feelings that came with them. Wave after wave of chemicals flooded her brain. Her carefully controlled Xylary mind suddenly burned with human emotions. She felt connected to Jake in a way that terrified her. Every touch seemed to mean something. Every look carried weight. And when it was over and Jake held her gently, asking if she was okay, Zara felt something break open inside her chest. "I am fine," she whispered, but she was lying. Jake fell asleep beside her, his breathing slow and steady. Zara lay awake in the darkness, her mind racing. Something had gone terribly wrong. Or maybe terribly right? She could not tell the difference anymore. Her body felt different. Her thoughts kept circling back to Jake, to the way he had touched her, to the sound of his voice. She felt vulnerable and exposed and desperate for him to wake up and look at her again. This was not supposed to happen. The computer had said she would remain objective. But Zara did not feel objective at all. She felt like she was falling through space with nothing to hold on to. She got out of bed carefully, trying not to wake Jake, and went to the medical bay. She demanded a full scan. The results made her heart sink. Everything was working exactly as it should. Her adaptive biology had responded perfectly to human biochemistry. The hormones flooding her system were normal. The emotional cascade was expected. For a human, but Zara was not human. She had never felt anything like this before. And according to the medical computer, these feelings would not fade quickly. The bonding chemicals would stay in her system for days or weeks. The psychological impact might last even longer. Zara had wanted to understand human reproduction. Now she understood it completely, and she wished desperately that she could go back to not knowing. The research vessel Celestial Dawn hung in the darkness near Earth's moon like a silver jewel. Inside the ship, Lieutenant Zara stood at her workstation and stared at the blue planet below. She had been watching humans for 3 years now, and every day they became more interesting to her. Zara was Zilari, a species that had traveled the stars for thousands of years. Her skin was pale blue and smooth, and her eyes were the color of violets. She was young for her kind, only 30 cycles old, which made her curious about everything. Her people had learned to control their bodies completely through technology. They created children in laboratories and never felt the messy emotions that other species experienced, but humans were different. Humans did everything the old way. They fell in love. They touched each other. They made babies through physical contact. To Zara, this was the most fascinating mystery in the galaxy. Commander Vex walked into the research bay and looked at Zara's screens. He was older than her by many cycles, with darker blue skin and silver markings on his face that showed his rank. "You are still studying their reproduction?" he asked, and Zara nodded without looking away from her work. "They are unique, Commander. Every other advanced species we know uses genetic engineering, but humans still do it naturally. I need to understand why." Vex sighed. "Understanding can happen from a distance, Lieutenant. We are observers, not participants. Remember that." Zara finally turned to face him. "I only want to learn. That is what scientists do." "That is what careful scientists do," Vex corrected. "Humans are unpredictable. Their emotions control them in ways we cannot predict. Do not forget that." Before Zara could respond, an alarm sounded through the ship. The navigation officer called out from across the bay. "Commander, we have detected a human vessel in distress. Their engines have failed near the dark side of the moon." Vex moved quickly to the main display. Zara followed him and felt her pulse quicken. A small shuttle tumbled slowly through space, its lights flickering. "One life form detected," the navigation officer reported. "Human, male, unconscious but alive." Zara spoke before she could stop herself. "We should rescue him. It is the right thing to do." Vex looked at her with suspicion in his eyes. "And it has nothing to do with your research? Would you leave him to die just because I want to study his species?" Zara asked. "That would make us monsters." The commander considered this for a long moment. Finally he nodded. "You make a fair point. Lieutenant Zara, you will lead the rescue team. Bring him to Medical Bay 1. And Zara, be professional." Zara tried to hide her excitement as she gathered her team. Within an hour they had pulled the damaged shuttle into their docking bay and brought the human aboard. He was tall for his species, with brown hair and strong features. His uniform identified him as Jake Harrison, an engineer from the Earth organization called NASA. In the medical bay, Zara watched as the automated systems healed the minor injuries Jake had suffered. He had hit his head when his shuttle lost power, but nothing was seriously wrong. He would wake up soon. She found herself studying his face as he slept. Humans were so different from Xylari. Their skin changed color with emotion and temperature. Their faces moved constantly, showing what they felt inside. They were loud and messy and completely honest in ways her people had forgotten how to be. Jake's eyes opened suddenly, and Zara stepped back. He looked confused at first, then alarmed when he saw her. "It is okay," Zara said quickly, holding up her hands. She touched the translation device on her collar. "Can you understand me?" Jake blinked several times and sat up slowly. "Yes, where am I?" "What are you?" "You are safe. Your shuttle was damaged in space. We rescued you. I am Lieutenant Zara of the Xelari research vessel Celestial Dawn." She tried to make her voice calm and friendly. "How do you feel?" Jake looked around the medical bay with wide eyes. The walls glowed with soft light, and strange equipment surrounded his bed. "This is real? You're actually aliens?" "We are actually aliens," Zara confirmed. "And you are actually safe. Your shuttle was hit by small space debris. The damage is not too bad. We can fix it, but it will take 2 days." Jake ran his hand through his hair, a gesture Zara had seen humans make when they were nervous. 2 days on an alien spaceship. My boss is going to think I'm crazy. "Your people do not know we are here," Zara admitted. "We have been studying Earth, but we have not made formal contact yet. Your government does not know about us." "Studying us?" Jake looked at her more carefully. "Why?" Zara felt her skin darken slightly, the xylary equivalent of a blush. "Earth is interesting. Your species is unique in many ways." Over the next hour, Zara explained what had happened and assured Jake that he would be returned home safely. She showed him around the parts of the ship where he was allowed to go. Jake asked 1,000 questions about everything he saw, and Zara found herself enjoying his curiosity. They ended up in the observation deck, a large room with clear walls that showed the stars outside. Earth hung in the distance, bright and beautiful. "It looks different from here," Jake said quietly. "Smaller, more fragile, but precious," Zara added. "Your world is one of a kind. So much life and variety." Jake turned to look at her. "Can I ask you something? Why do you look almost human? I mean, you're blue and your eyes are different, but your basic shape is like ours." "Many species in the galaxy have similar forms," Zara explained. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. It seems to be an efficient design for intelligent life. But we are different in many other ways. "Like what?" Jake asked. Zara hesitated. This was her chance to start learning what she wanted to know. "My people do not feel emotions the way you do. We removed that from ourselves long ago. We thought it would make us better, more logical. But now I wonder if we lost something important." Jake smiled, and Zara noticed how it changed his whole face. "Yeah, emotions can be messy. But they're also what makes life worth living, you know? The good ones, anyway." "Tell me about them," Zara said, sitting down near the window. "Tell me about being human." And Jake did. He talked about his life on Earth, his job as an engineer, his family. He talked about friendship and disappointment and joy. Zara listened to every word, recording everything in her mind. As the ship's lights dimmed to simulate night, Jake yawned. Zara showed him to a small room where he could sleep. But before he went inside, he turned back to her. "Thanks for saving me, Zara, and thanks for being nice about all this. I know I'm probably messing up your research schedule or whatever." "You are not messing up anything," Zara assured him. "Having you here is the most interesting thing that has happened to me in cycles." Jake laughed. "Cycles?" "Years in your language," Zara corrected herself. "Sleep well, Jake Harrison." After he closed the door, Zara stood in the corridor for a long time. She had 2 days to learn everything she could about humans. 2 days to understand what made them special. 2 days to solve the mystery that had obsessed her for so long. She did not know yet that some mysteries should stay unsolved. She did not know that understanding something completely sometimes means becoming part of it. She did not know that in 2 days her careful scientific world would be turned completely upside down, but she would learn. Humans had a saying about curiosity and cats. Zara was about to discover exactly what it meant. Zara did not return to her quarters. She stayed in the medical bay, running test after test on herself, hoping to find something wrong that she could fix. But every scan came back the same. Her body was functioning perfectly. The problem was that it was functioning like a human body now, at least in terms of emotional chemistry. When the ship's lights brightened to signal morning, Zara was still awake. Her hands trembled as she held a datapad, reading about human pair bonding for the 100th time. The words that had seemed so simple yesterday now felt like they were describing a trap she had willingly walked into. The medical bay doors opened, and Jake walked in. He looked concerned. "Hey, I woke up and you were gone. Are you okay?" Just seeing him made Zara's chest tighten. She wanted to run to him and push him away at the same time. Her carefully trained scientific mind was at war with chemicals she had never experienced before. I am experiencing unexpected side effects, Zara said, trying to keep her voice steady. Jake came closer. What kind of side effects? Are you hurt? Not physically. Zara set down the data pad. I am feeling things I should not feel. The treatment I took to make my biology compatible with yours, it worked too well. I am having human emotional responses. Understanding crossed Jake's face. Oh, you're feeling attached. Attached, Zara repeated. The words seemed too small for what was happening inside her. Yes, very attached. Inappropriately attached. My research has been compromised. Jake sat down beside her, and Zara had to resist the urge to lean against him. Zara, this isn't a research problem. This is what I tried to warn you about. Humans bond through physical intimacy. It's biological. But I am not human, Zara said, and her voice cracked. I should not feel this way. I have training. I have discipline. I have spent my entire life learning to think logically. And now I cannot stop thinking about you. I keep replaying last night in my mind. I feel anxious when you are not near me. This is not acceptable. It's normal, Jake said gently. It's what happens. For humans. Not for Zillary. Zara stood up and paced across the medical bay. My people removed these feelings from ourselves thousands of years ago. We decided they were inefficient and dangerous. And I have just proven them right. Look at me, I cannot even stand still. I am a disaster. Jake watched her pace. How long will it last? The computer estimates the hormone levels will decrease over several days. But the psychological impact may last longer. Possibly much longer. Zara stopped and looked at him. Jake, I have made a terrible mistake. I treated something important as if it were simple. I thought I could observe and remain separate. But there is no separation. That is what I failed to understand. Before Jake could respond, Commander Vex's voice came through the communication system. Lieutenant Zara, report to my office immediately. Zara's skin paled. Vex's tone was cold and formal. He knew. Somehow, he had found out what happened. She left Jake in the medical bay and walked through the corridors to the commander's office. Other crew members stared at her as she passed. Word must have spread already. On a ship this small, secrets did not last long. Vex was standing by his window, looking out at Earth when Zara entered. He did not turn around. The medical computer flagged your biological treatments yesterday, he said. It sent me a report about unusual hormone activity in your system during the night. I reviewed the security logs. I know what you did. Commander, I can explain. Explain what? Vex turned to face her, and his expression was harder than Zara had ever seen it. Explain how you compromised our mission. Explain how you engaged in intimate contact with a research subject. Explain how you may have just created a diplomatic incident that could affect Earth's entire future relationship with the galactic community. Jake consented, Zara said weakly. Did he? Vex asked. Did he truly understand what he was consenting to, did you? You told me yourself that you did not anticipate these emotional effects. How could Jake have known what would happen when you did not know yourself? Zara had no answer. Vex was right. She had been so confident in her scientific approach that she had blinded herself to the reality of what she was doing. I am sorry, Commander. Sorry does not fix this. Vex sat down at his desk. I am restricting you to research areas only. You are not to have contact with the human for the remainder of his time on this ship. His shuttle will be ready in 3 hours. He will be returned to Earth, and we will resume our observation mission as planned. 3 hours? Zara felt panic rising in her chest. But I need to speak with him. I need to explain. You need to maintain professional distance, Vex interrupted. That is an order, Lieutenant. If you cannot follow it, I will confine you to your quarters. Zara wanted to argue, but she knew it would only make things worse. She nodded and left the office. Her mind was racing. 3 hours until Jake left forever. 3 hours, and she was forbidden from seeing him. She went to her quarters and sat on her bed. The sheets still smelled like Jake, and it made her chest ache. This was ridiculous. She barely knew him. They had spent 2 days together. One night. How could she feel this strongly about someone she had just met? But that was the point, was it not? Humans could form deep connections quickly because their biology was designed for it. And Zara had temporarily given herself that same biology without understanding what it meant. She tried to focus on research, but everything reminded her of Jake, the observation deck where they had talked, the dining area where he had eaten breakfast. Even the corridors seemed empty without him walking through them. Time passed too quickly and too slowly at once. Zara watched the chronometer on her wall, counting down the minutes. She knew the moment when Jake boarded his shuttle because she felt it like a physical pain. She pulled up the security feed and watched him walk through the docking bay, escorted by crew members. He kept looking around as if searching for someone. For her. Zara switched the feed to external cameras and watched Jake's shuttle detach from the celestial dawn. It turned slowly and began its journey back to Earth. She watched until it was just a small point of light, and then until she could not see it at all. Then she sat in her empty quarters and cried. It was something she had not done since she was a child, before the emotional training took hold. Tears were inefficient, her instructors had taught her. They served no purpose. They solved no problems. But Zara cried anyway, because sometimes the body needs to express what the mind cannot process. A message appeared on her datapad. It was from Jake, sent just before his shuttle departed. She opened it with shaking hands. Zara, I don't know if they'll let you see this, but I wanted to say something. What happened between us wasn't a mistake. You're not a disaster. You're brave for wanting to understand something new, even if it hurt you. I hope you're okay. I hope the feelings fade and you can get back to your research. But I also hope you remember that what we shared meant something. At least it did to me. Take care of yourself. Maybe we'll meet again someday, Jake. Zara read the message 3 times. Then she saved it to her personal files and lay down on her bed. The ship felt incredibly large and empty around her. She understood now why humans feared loneliness. She understood why they built their entire lives around connection with others. Her people had removed their capacity for deep emotion, because they thought it made them stronger. But lying alone in her quarters, feeling the echo of something beautiful and painful, Zara wondered if the Xylari had actually made themselves weaker. They had protected themselves from hurt, but they had also cut themselves off from something profound. She had wanted to understand human reproduction. She had wanted to solve the mystery of why they did things the natural way instead of using technology. Now she knew the answer, and it was both simpler and more complex than she had imagined. Humans bonded through intimacy, because it was not just about making children. It was about making connections. It was about finding meaning in another person. It was about being vulnerable and trusting someone else with that vulnerability, and Zara had experienced it for one night, just long enough to understand what her people had been missing for thousands of years. She closed her eyes and tried to sleep. But even in her dreams, she saw Jake's face and felt the ghost of his touch. The medical computer had said the hormones would fade in days. But Zara suspected that some things, once learned, could never be unlearned. She had opened a door in her mind that would not close again. And she was not sure if that was the best thing or the worst thing that had ever happened to her. 3 weeks passed, and Zara was not getting better. She went through the motions of her work, running scans of Earth and filing reports, but her heart was not in it. The other crew members noticed. Some were sympathetic. Others whispered when she walked by. Everyone knew what had happened with the human. The hormone levels in her blood had returned to normal Xylari ranges. The medical computer confirmed it every day. But the feelings had not gone away. If anything, they had gotten stronger. Zara found herself monitoring Earth's communication networks, searching for any mention of Jake Harrison. She knew it was obsessive behavior. She knew it was unhealthy. She could not stop. One morning, Commander Vex summoned her to his office again. Zara expected another lecture, maybe even a formal reprimand in her file. Instead, Vex looked tired and almost sympathetic. "Sit down, Lieutenant," Zara said. Vex was quiet for a moment, studying her face. "You look terrible," he said finally. "Thank you, Commander." That was not a compliment. Vex leaned back in his chair. "Your work performance has dropped significantly. You are distracted and unfocused. Other crew members report that you spend your free time monitoring Earth broadcasts. This cannot continue." "I am aware of the problem," Zara said quietly. "I am trying to overcome it." "You cannot overcome it by pretending it is not happening." Vex pulled up a file on his screen. "I have made a decision. I am assigning you a new research project. You will study human emotional psychology and bonding systems. If you are going to be obsessed with understanding what happened to you, you might as well do it officially." Zara looked up in surprise. "You want me to research human emotions?" "You have unique insight now," Vex said. "You have experienced something no other Xylari has experienced in thousands of years. That makes you valuable, even if it also makes you compromised. Use your training. Approach this scientifically. Maybe understanding it will help you process it." It was not what Zara had expected, but it made sense. She threw herself into the new assignment with desperate energy. She accessed every piece of human culture the Xylari had collected. Literature, music, films, art. She read human love poems that were hundreds of years old. She watched movies about relationships that ended badly and ones that ended well. She listened to songs about heartbreak and hope, slowly. Piece by piece, she began to understand what humans had built their entire civilization around. Love was not just about reproduction. It was about meaning. It was about finding purpose in another person. It was about creating something together that neither person could create alone. She read about human parents who sacrificed everything for their children, about friends who stayed loyal through decades of hardship, about lovers who found each other again after years apart. The stories were often painful, but they were also beautiful in a way that Xylari culture had forgotten how to be. One file particularly caught her attention. It was a collection of human poetry about loss and longing. One poem described love as a door that, once opened, could never be fully closed again. Zara read it a dozen times. The human poet had understood exactly what she was feeling. She began writing reports about her findings. But they were different from her usual scientific papers. They were personal and reflective. She wrote about what it felt like to bond with someone and then lose them. She wrote about how humans managed to function despite knowing that connection brought pain. She wrote about courage, and how maybe the bravest thing humans did was love each other despite knowing it would hurt. Commander Vex read her reports. He did not say much about them, but he did not tell her to stop either. Meanwhile, on Earth, Jake was having his own struggles. He had been debriefed by NASA officials about his time on the alien ship. He told them about the rescue, about the ship's technology, about the Xylari culture. He carefully left out certain personal details, but he could not stop thinking about Zara. He dreamed about her violet eyes. He wondered if she was okay, if the feelings had faded for her, if she regretted what happened. He tried dating other women, but it felt wrong somehow. No one else understood what he had experienced. His best friend, a fellow engineer named Chris, finally confronted him about it. "You have been weird for weeks, man. What is going on with you?" Jake almost told him the truth. But how could he explain that he had fallen for an alien scientist who had treated their night together as a research project? It sounded crazy even in his own head. "Just work stress," Jake said instead, but it was not just work stress. It was the memory of holding someone who was trying to understand what it meant to be human. It was the knowledge that he had been part of something that changed Zara's entire worldview. It was wondering if she was thinking about him too, back on the Celestial Dawn. Zara made a decision that would have been impossible for her 3 weeks earlier. She went to Commander Vex's office with a formal request. "I want to return to Earth," she said. "Not as a researcher, as a visitor. I need to see Jake again." Vex set down his datapad. "That is not possible, and you know it. Earth is not ready for open contact. We are observers only." "Then we should stop observing and start making contact," Zara argued. We have been watching humans for years. We have learned about their technology and their culture. But we have never really understood them because we kept ourselves separate. That separation is the problem, Commander. It keeps us from truly knowing them. And you think going to Earth to find one human male will change that? I think I need to finish what I started, Zara said. I began something with Jake and I ended it badly. I treated him like an experiment and then I disappeared without explanation. He deserves better than that. And I need to know if what I felt was real or just chemistry. It was just chemistry, Vex said. That is what bonding hormones do. Then why does it still hurt? Zara asked. The hormones are gone, Commander. The medical computer confirmed it. But I still think about him every day. I still want to see him again. If this is just biology, why has it not faded? Vex was quiet for a long time. Finally, he sighed. Even if I wanted to approve this, which I do not, the High Council would never allow it. Unauthorized contact with Earth could jeopardize our entire mission. Zara nodded. She had expected this answer. But she had needed to try. That night, she stood in the shuttle bay, looking at the small transport vessels. It would be easy to take one. Easy to fly to Earth. Easy to find Jake and explain everything. Easy to see if he felt the same way she did, but it would also be a betrayal of her oath as an officer. It would endanger the mission. It would possibly cause a diplomatic incident between her people and Earth. It would be selfish and irrational and exactly the kind of emotional decision the Xylari had bred out of themselves. Zara's hand hovered over the shuttle controls. One button. One choice. One moment that would change everything. I thought I might find you here. Zara spun around. Commander Vex stood in the doorway, his arms crossed. I was not going to, Zara started. Yes, you were, Vex interrupted. Or you were thinking about it, at least. That is why I came. Zara expected him to be angry. Instead, he walked over and stood beside her, looking at the shuttles. I need to tell you something, Vex said quietly. Something I have never told anyone on this ship. When I was young, before I became a commander, I fell in love with someone from another species. She was from a world we were studying. We were not supposed to make contact, but I did anyway. We had 3 months together before my ship left. I never saw her again. Zara stared at him. You? But you are always so strict about protocol. Because I know what happens when you break it, Vex said. I know the pain of leaving someone behind. I know what it is like to wonder for years if you made the right choice. He turned to look at her. But I also know that sometimes the pain is worth it. Sometimes making a connection is more important than following rules. What are you saying? I am saying that I cannot let you steal a shuttle and fly to Earth, Vex said. But I can arrange something better. I have been in contact with the High Council. I proposed a formal first contact mission with Earth, cultural exchange, scientific cooperation, a chance to finally stop watching and start participating. Zara's heart raced. Did they approve it? They are considering it. It will take time, maybe months, to plan properly. But if it happens, you will be part of the team. And you will see your human again. Vex put his hand on her shoulder. Until then, you need to be patient. Can you do that? Zara thought about it. Months of waiting. Months of not knowing if Jake still thought about her. Months of uncertainty, but also hope. Real hope. A chance to see him again and maybe finish what they had started. Yes, Commander, Zara said. I can wait. Vex nodded and left the shuttle bay. Zara stood there for a long time, her hands still near the controls but no longer tempted to press them. She could wait. She had already learned patience through pain. She could learn it through hope, too. 3 months felt like 3 years to Zara. She threw herself into preparing for the first contact mission, studying every detail of human diplomatic protocol and cultural expectations. She learned about Earth governments and how decisions were made. She practiced speaking English without the translation device. She wanted to be ready. The Xylari High Council had approved the mission with surprising speed. Apparently, other voices on the council had been arguing for formal contact for years. Zara's incident with Jake had simply forced the issue. Sometimes, Commander Vex told her, breaking the rules created better outcomes than following them. The contact would happen at the United Nations complex in New York City. A team of 6 Xalari, including Zara and Commander Vex, would meet with human representatives to discuss future cooperation. The whole world would be watching. It was the most important moment in human history and one of the most significant in Xalari history too. But all Zara could think about was whether Jake would be there. She had searched Earth's networks for information about him. She found a brief interview where he talked about his experience on an alien ship, carefully avoiding specifics. He looked tired in the video, and Zara wondered if he had been sleeping poorly. The way she had, the day of first contact arrived, the Xalari ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, escorted by human military aircraft. Zara watched cities pass below them, millions of humans going about their lives. Not knowing that everything was about to change, the ship landed on a specially prepared platform near the UN building. Through the windows, Zara could see crowds of humans behind barriers, waving and holding signs. Media cameras were everywhere. The moment felt huge and terrifying. Ready? Commander Vex asked. Zara nodded, even though her hands were shaking. She wore formal Xalari diplomatic robes, silver and blue, with the symbols of her rank displayed on her collar. She looked professional and composed on the outside. Inside, she felt like she might fall apart. The landing ramp lowered, and the Xalari team walked out into Earth air for the first time. It smelled different than the recycled atmosphere on the ship. Richer, more complex, full of scents Zara could not name. The gravity was slightly heavier than what the ship maintained. Every step felt weighted with significance. Human dignitaries waited at the bottom of the ramp. A woman with gray hair and kind eyes stepped forward. She wore a badge identifying her as the UN Secretary General. "Welcome to Earth," she said in English. "We are honored by your presence." Commander Vex responded formally, and the two leaders shook hands. Cameras flashed. The crowd cheered. History was being made, but Zara barely noticed any of it. Her eyes scanned the crowd of officials and diplomats, searching for one face. She did not see him. Disappointment hit her like a physical blow. Of course, Jake was not here. He was an engineer, not a diplomat. Why would he be at an official first contact event? The Xalari team was led inside the UN building to a large conference room. More speeches followed. Treaties were discussed. Cultural exchange programs were proposed. Zara participated when required, answering questions about Xalari technology and society. But part of her mind was elsewhere. After several hours, the formal proceedings ended. The Human Secretary General announced that there would be a reception where the Xalari could meet various Earth representatives in a more casual setting. Zara felt exhausted but agreed to attend. The reception hall was impressive, with tall windows overlooking the city. Humans in formal clothes mingled and talked. Zara stood near a window, holding a glass of water, trying to smile politely at everyone who approached to introduce themselves. Then she saw him. Jake stood near the doorway, wearing a suit that looked uncomfortable on him. He was scanning the room with the same expression Zara had worn earlier, searching. Their eyes met across the crowded hall. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Jake started walking toward her, and Zara started walking toward him. And they met in the middle of the room with dozens of people watching. "Hi," Jake said. "Hi," Zara replied. They stood there, just looking at each other while conversations continued around them. Zara had prepared 100 things to say. Apologies, explanations, confessions. But now that he was here in front of her, all those words seemed inadequate. "How did you get invited to this?" Zara asked finally. "I told them I had prior contact experience with your species. They thought I might be useful for the cultural exchange program." Jake smiled, and it was the same smile Zara remembered from the ship. "Really, I just wanted to see you again." "I wanted to see you too," Zara admitted. "I have thought about you every day since you left." "Same. I kept hoping your ship would come back." I kept checking the sky at night like I might see it up there. They moved to a quieter corner of the reception hall, away from curious eyes. There was a small balcony overlooking the city, and they stepped out into the cool evening air. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors that Zara's world never had. "I need to apologize," Zara said, "for how I treated what happened between us. I approached it as science when it should have been treated as something sacred. I hurt you, and I hurt myself, and I'm sorry." Jake leaned against the balcony railing. "You don't have to apologize. I knew what I was getting into. Or I thought I did anyway." "But I did not know," Zara said. "I thought I could remain detached. I thought my xylery training would protect me from emotional complications. I was wrong about everything. Are you okay now? Did the feelings fade like you hoped?" Zara looked out at the city. Millions of humans down there, all connected to each other through bonds of family and friendship and love, all vulnerable to the pain those bonds could bring, all doing it anyway. "No," she said honestly. "The feelings did not fade. I learned to carry them, but they never went away. I think perhaps they never will." Jake moved closer to her. "Is that a bad thing?" "I do not know," Zara admitted. "My people would say yes. They would say emotions are inefficient and dangerous. They would say I compromise myself. But I have spent 3 months studying human culture, and I think maybe my people are wrong. Maybe removing emotion did not make us stronger. Maybe it made us hollow. So what do we do now?" Jake asked. "I mean, we're from different worlds, literally. You live on a spaceship? I live in Texas. You probably have a lifespan twice as long as mine. This is complicated." "Everything worth having is complicated," Zara said. "That is another thing I learned from studying humans. You do not avoid things just because they are difficult." Jake laughed. "Yeah, we're pretty stubborn that way." They stood together in silence for a moment, watching the city lights begin to appear as darkness fell. Zara felt peaceful in a way she had not felt in months. Just being near Jake again made everything easier. "I have a proposal," Zara said. "The High Council has approved a long-term cultural exchange program. I will be stationed on Earth for the next 2 years, learning about human society and helping to facilitate cooperation between our species. I know it is not a perfect solution, but it means I will be here. We would have time to understand each other properly." "You'd stay on Earth? For 2 years?" "I volunteered for the position," Zara said. "I told the council that my unique experience made me valuable for the role." "Which is true. But my real reason was you. I wanted another chance to do this right." Jake was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. "I took a job as a liaison for the space agency's alien technology division. Someone needs to help translate xylery engineering concepts for human scientists. I figured it might keep me close to your team." Zara felt something warm spread through her chest. Hope, she thought. This was what hope felt like. So we both made irrational career decisions based on emotion? Looks that way. Jake held out his hand. Want to try this again? Slowly this time with actual dating and getting to know each other. Zara took his hand. His skin was warm against hers, and she felt that familiar cascade of chemicals in her brain. But this time she was not afraid of them. This time she understood what they meant. Yes, she said. I would like that very much. They went back inside together. And Zara introduced Jake to Commander Vex. The commander shook Jake's hand with what might have been approval in his eyes. Take care of my lieutenant, Vex said. She is one of our best researchers, even if she does not always follow protocol. I'll do my best, sir, Jake promised. The reception continued late into the night. Zara and Jake talked with diplomats and scientists, discussing plans for future cooperation. But they kept finding their way back to each other, standing close. Not quite touching, but not quite apart either, later when the official events finally ended. Jake walked Zara back to the temporary quarters the xylery team had been provided. They stood outside her door, neither quite ready to say goodnight. Tomorrow I am supposed to visit your space agency headquarters, Zara said. Would you be my guide? I'd be honored, Jake said. And maybe after we could get dinner? There's this Italian restaurant I know. Very human experience. Zara smiled. That sounds perfect. Jake leaned forward and kissed her forehead gently. Good night, Zara. I'm glad you came back. I'm glad I came back too. After he left, Zara went inside and looked at herself in the mirror. She looked the same as she had months ago. Blue skin, violet eyes, silver diplomatic robes. But she felt completely different.